Hello, everyone. I am so excited about today's guest. We are going to be interviewing the amazing, esteemed Dr. John Gray, the author of the books Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, and the latest book, Men Are Beyond Mars and Venus. So I want to read this properly because I don't want to just miss a word of his incredible resume. Dr. John Gray is the author of Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. USA Today listed Mars Venus as number 6 among the most influential books of the last quarter century. In hard copy, it was the number 1 best-selling nonfiction book in the 90s. John Gray's books are translated into approximately 45 languages and more than 100 countries. Dr. Gray's more recent books include Mars and Venus in the Bedroom, Why Mars and Venus Collide, and Work With Me with Barbara Annis. John has appeared repeatedly on OPRAH, as well as the Dr. Oz Show, Today, CBS This Morning, Good Morning America, etc. He has been profiled in Time Magazine, Forbes, USA Today, TV Guide, and People. He was also the subject of a 3-hour special hosted by Barbara Walters. So, about the book, Beyond Mars and Venus. By the way, the link to his website will be below this interview, where you will be able to find not only amazing books, but his blog and many of his wellness products, which I, in particular, subscribe to. So we're going to talk a little bit about that during the interview today. So for more than 20 years, John Gray's Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus has helped couples deepen their intimacy and rejuvenate their love lives. Men and women, it revealed, communicate so differently, we might as well be from different planets. By learning to speak each other's language, millions of people dramatically improve their relationships and even save their relationships. But the world has changed. Today, what it means to be a man or woman is more nuanced and complex than ever. Both men and women are now free to move beyond the restrictions of traditional gender roles to embrace their authentic selves. But gender freedom shouldn't mean gender blindness. Men and women are still fundamentally different on a hormone level. Our new needs in today's evolving and stressful, fast-paced world to remain healthy and happy hormonally and in the context of their relationship are also fundamentally different. So it is my great honor to introduce John Gray to all of you. And I'm going to ask John, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, I am just so blown away by your enthusiasm. Thank you so much. And that was such a well-written introduction. I'm quite impressed. Thank you. It kind of summarized what everything I'm doing today. Thank you.
Yeah, so this is what's so interesting about Dr. John Gray is these days he's involved in many different arenas. He has now understood the nuances of brain health, of body health, and so all of that makes us prepared to have great relationships today. So if you would, John, would you share a little bit about the difference in the relationships between men and women now compared to 20 years ago?
Yes, that's what I'm really all about and that introduction kind of gave the overview of it, but I'll fill in the blanks here, which my books do, which is as human beings, we all have a unique balance of what we call masculine qualities and feminine qualities. And it's really helpful to understand, first of all, what those qualities are. In the book, I list 12 basic ones, 12 masculine qualities, 12 feminine qualities. And the purpose of that is what's most common today when our stress levels rise. That's when we're not as happy and not as fulfilled. We're not feeling in love. We tend to be argumentative or depressed or anxious or low libido. These are all symptoms of a stressed body. What's going on is our hormones go out of balance. And for women, typically, they're producing male hormones during the day and not enough female hormones. And men typically produce more female hormones today and not enough male hormones. It's kind of a role reversal. It's literally like when we had permission to express all of who we are, men went too far to their female side and women went too far to their male side in order to maintain balance. Nothing wrong with expressing who you are. But who we are can easily go out of balance, and we deny parts of who we are. So ironically, throughout history, women had to deny their masculine side, men had to deny their feminine side, but now it's reversed. To a great extent, women are denying their feminine side. They see it as weak, as too emotional, as too needy, as powerless. And men, when they go too far, when they leave their masculine side, they go over to their feminine side, which is very attractive to men, because it's all about pleasure and enjoyment and desire. And you get the vulnerability men have when they're too far on their female side is they become grumpy, irritable, get angry, get defensive, they argue more, or they get lost in addictions and pornography and various substance abuse. So this is what's happening today. And with this new knowledge, we can have communication skills through our relationships to restore balance. And when you restore balance, you can access greater love, and you can live a lifetime of being in love, as well as expressing your true purpose and meaning in life, finding that. That all happens when we go into balance. So we have huge opportunity, but a bigger challenge to get there without knowledge.
John, and I think it's like so true. We all feel that, right, in our modern relationships, and things have just changed greatly. And I know even for myself, I was an executive for years, right, and took on major roles. In fact, I was one of only one woman with like 30 men in my arena. And so we do tend to take on those masculine qualities at work. And I worked very much so, because of your book, to balance mine with the feminine qualities, and reminded the women that I worked with that we were absolutely able to be successful and bring our feminine qualities with us. But will you talk a little bit about the differences in communication and how women can best communicate effectively with men?
Okay, well, here's the dynamic. And this is why we have to understand this hormonal difference for it to make sense and not sound sexist and not sound unfair. So I have to give a foundation here, which is when a woman experiences well-being, you can measure her estrogen will be 10 times more than a man's. Okay, so this is, you go to your doctor, you get tests. If you're stressed out, your estrogen levels will be too low. That's what's happening today, because we know stress hormones get produced in women. There's a lowering of estrogen. And now for men, they need 10 to 30 times more testosterone to be experiencing well-being. And when men have high estrogen, their testosterone goes down. And when women are making testosterone throughout the day, their estrogen goes down, unless they're able to consciously focus on how to restore estrogen levels. So that's the foundation here. So when it comes to communication, if a woman is sharing her vulnerable side, and her vulnerable side is anything that's inside of her, feelings, emotions, thoughts, beliefs, desires, wishes, needs, that's our subjective self. When women can reveal what's inside of her to someone outside of her, and reveal things that she wouldn't share at work. Now, there's a lot you don't share at work, right?
Right, right.
So when you reveal what you don't share at work to your partner at home, that creates intimacy. That creates more estrogen. It creates more oxytocin. These are the key hormone players for women. Is if you feel I can share this with my partner and they're not going to minimize me, they're not going to interrupt me, they're not going to think less of me, they're not going to try to correct me, they're not going to try to solve my problem, but just let me explore out loud what's going on inside. Literally, it's like, let me undress emotionally before you and have you become turned on. That's the sign of really good communication skill. I remember in my marriage with Bonnie, it got to a point where I became such, it takes a while for men to learn how to listen. But actually, at a certain point, it would actually turn me on when she would reveal things that were deeper inside. It was literally the way I would be turned on if she took off her clothes. Now, ironically, if we look at what couples want today, it's lasting passion. And just taking off your clothes in the beginning is enough to stimulate arousal in men. But it has to go deeper than that if you want it to last for a lifetime. It means to reveal all of who you are, which is always going deeper and changing and growing. And this is where communication is so important. So ironically, when you share what's inside, you're going to be producing female hormones if you feel safe. Now, if you're listening to someone share, you actually produce male hormones. And this is counter thinking. Everybody thinks, oh, you know, if you're a good listener, you're on your female side. No, if you're listening, providing a service to that woman by helping to understand her, to show empathy or caring, asking questions, making a safe place for her to reveal herself. That's the most testosterone stimulating thing a man can do, is provide safety for a woman. Because you see, throughout history, that's been our main role that make us feel great, is that we are the protectors, we're the providers, we make your life wonderful, and as a result, we feel wonderful. That's the way testosterone works. Testosterone ends when you serve others, solve problems, provide what people need, testosterone goes up. Now, in the past, if a woman had a problem, you solve it and that she'd feel great. But today, women can solve their own problems to a great extent. What they need is a new level of support, which is this emotional support. So men have to learn a whole new way of listening and be aware that while they're listening, they're providing the most important support a woman needs today, which is to help bring her back to her female side. And it's not a time for him to share how he feels, what he thinks, what he's going to solve the problem, or how he can help her by correcting her. It's not the time to do that. He needs to provide a safe space for her to express how she feels, and that's going to help her. And if in his mind he experiences that I'm helping her, his testosterone will go up. If he doesn't know that listening is what she needs most, his testosterone won't go up. And so literally, this is such a revelation for men. A new way to provide support for women is to be good listeners. And the flip side of this is, if you're listening and you're not good at it, it takes time, you will get angry, you will become impatient, you will become irritable. What you have to know biologically, what's happening at that time, is you feel like you're not doing anything effective. Your testosterone will start to go down. You don't know what's going wrong because you keep trying to fix her and it doesn't work. His testosterone goes down and his estrogen goes up. And it's when men's estrogen rises too high and their testosterone goes down, that's when men get irritable. That's when men are impatient. That's when men are grumpy. That's when men get angry. Anger is not testosterone. It's low testosterone and high estrogen. And that is a revelation. That is not common knowledge. There's only few scientists that know that. Books have been written about it, but still there's this huge misunderstanding that testosterone causes men to be aggressive. And actually, it's high estrogen and low testosterone that causes men to become grumpy, irritable, passive, procrastinate, addiction, and anger, and then eventually aggression. If they've seen aggression as children, then it will show up that way.
That is incredible. And you're right. We don't often think of that. It's interesting with my daughter-in-law and my daughter, I've always taught that the greatest thing they can give men is to receive. To be
Yes.
open to receive from men. And women have it so mixed up. I remember trying to teach my daughter when she would reach for the doorknob, like, Bonnie, let your brother get the door. And understanding that they live to give.
Yes.
And so there's so many women today, I think, that have that backwards. And just because we can do it for ourselves doesn't mean if there's a man around that we need to do it for ourselves, because they love. I used to watch my son as a little boy, and he would literally pump his muscles and like, Mom, look at me, I carried the groceries, you know, and do this beautiful, beautiful male ritual that I continue to see him do through the years. And I think those are the most successful relationships. So can you talk to us a little bit about just women being in a receiver mode for men, which goes, unfortunately, these days against many of the things that we're taught about being powerful and empowered?
Yeah, we'll just start from our automatic reactions as human beings when we're not getting what we need. We tend to go, okay, what I need is XYZ. So if I want to get XYZ, I should give XYZ. See, this is just, you know, when I first dated Bonnie, my wife of 34 years, and I wanted to give her the best. So I would usually go into the convenience store when we were going on a little getaway, and I'd get Martinelli's apple juice because I liked it so much. It was sparkling apple juice. And it took me about 5 years to realize that, to keep remembering that she doesn't like sparkling drinks. And I remember on our 5th anniversary, I got, because she doesn't drink alcohol, and so they wanted to give, it was a little romantic thing on our anniversary. And they said, oh, we can bring in a bottle of champagne, make it very romantic. And I said, no, she doesn't drink. And then they said, well, we have sparkling apple juice in a champagne bottle. And I thought, oh, what a good idea. And then we took our toast to our marriage, and she put it to her lips. She didn't even say, John, it's sparkling. How long does it take you to remember? It was very sweet. She put it to her lips. And then I said, oh, I'm so sorry, I forgot. She says, I know, and I love you. So that was her sweetness, was not to take it so personally, that I kept forgetting. But we tend to forget, or we tend to just not know, because when we love someone, we want to give them what we like most. So women need to receive. So if she basically loves her partner, she wants to give him a lot so he can receive. But if you look now, practically speaking, as a marriage counselor, having dealt with many, many couples, thousands of couples over the years, 40 years of doing this, almost every time a woman is not happy in a marriage after many years and wants a divorce, the bottom line of what she says is, I give and I give and I give and I don't get back. And she feels that her partner is so selfish and so unloving. But what I know, and I don't tell her right away, is that she doesn't know how to receive. Because when you give more than you're receiving, you're not a good receiver. Okay, you're a good giver. But for men, what brings the best out of men is, as you said, is being a good receiver. And what is a good receiver? What does it look like? It means a person who basically doesn't take things so personally. And that's something we can talk more about, is if every time he disappoints you, it means he doesn't love you, it triggers a huge stress response. Because when you conclude from a man's behavior, he doesn't love you, or he just doesn't love me, which is a quick reaction when someone does something you don't understand. Why would he do that? If he loved me, if I love someone, I wouldn't react that way. So if he reacts that way, he must not love me. And when you tell your subconscious mind you're with somebody who doesn't love you, you're now going to spike a fear reaction that throws your hormones out of balance. And suddenly you're going to have to protect yourself rather than allow him to be your protector. So that's the first thing, is not taking things so personally. Number 2 would be, a good receiver is someone who's aware of their needs and therefore capable of appreciating when their partner does something for them. Now, today, so many women, you become so confident, so self-sufficient, you have to be that way in the workplace, that to need help is seen as weakness. And, if you're a CEO and you need help, people go, why is she the boss? Can't she do it herself? So you have to constantly deny needs, show strength. But letting someone help you is another kind of power. See, that's feminine power. I like to define these 2 powers that we have, and every man has it, every woman has it, these 2 powers. One power is, look what I can do. Demonstrate, that's my testosterone side. I'm so confident, I can do this, I can do this. But my female power, which I have a lot of, otherwise wouldn't be so successful, is my power to get other people to do things for me. So that's attraction. You have to attract clients. You have to attract business. You have to attract love. And that's receptivity. And receptivity comes when you're able to be aware of, what do I need? So that when someone provides that, you feel happy. Happiness and love is our estrogen in our body. You can't feel happy and love unless you have plenty of estrogen. Same thing for men. That's why women make us the happiest. Because if I can come close to her, I connect with her happiness, and my mirror cells in the brain create happiness inside of me. Men who do not have happy wives are not happy men. They can't be happy. They can have children. Children can also activate that inside, but not completely the way a wife could. So it's her happiness that allows him to experience happiness, and it's her unhappiness that keeps him from feeling happy, and therefore he blames her. And that becomes a problem as well. When I'm talking to men, I explain, any man that comes to me for counseling, within 1 hour, I can point out to him why his wife isn't happy, and it's all his fault. Now, having said that, I can have any woman in my room for 1 session, and I can point out to her why her unhappiness is all her fault. We have to realize We are responsible for our happiness. We can't blame other people. We can look to our partners to make us happier, and that's their job. And ironically, the way my wife makes me happier is when I do something and she smiles, then I'm happier. If I provide something or I help her in some way and she says, oh, I'm so glad to see you, I'm now happier. So a person who's good at receiving is able to appreciate what they have in life. They're not focused on what they don't have. Now, the problem is that when women have more testosterone production than estrogen production, they will produce adrenaline and cortisol. They go hand in hand. When women make testosterone higher than little levels, all women have a little testosterone, but men have 10 times to 30 times more. And by the way, a man in love with you temporarily will experience 50 times more testosterone.
Wow.
So that's why men don't always feel the love in their heart. They can love you, but they don't feel the love because he needs to have a huge amount of testosterone so that a huge amount of estrogen can come up without his testosterone going down. See, estrogen pushes testosterone down. Testosterone pushes estrogen down. So women, you know, if you're in the workplace and you're experiencing a lot of decision-making, urgency, goal orientation, sacrifice, doing things that you don't want to do, but you have to do in order to get the money to support yourself, that's called pressure. That's testosterone production. Pressure is actually good for men if they have confidence, okay? He has to have confidence. If he has no confidence, then his testosterone goes down and his estrogen goes up. But for women, pressure increases testosterone and her estrogen levels will go down. Even if she has confidence and she has pressure, it still doesn't produce estrogen. Estrogen is produced when she feels safe, relaxed, and supported. So this was amazing. Kind of the foundation of the new book is when I read the research on estrogen, because I had to study how men and women are different brains, different conditioning, but also different hormones, which I now see as the most critical thing. And the research showed that when a woman feels dependent on someone for something they can't give themselves, then estrogen levels go up. So for example, if you're feeling threatened by health and you go to a doctor that you trust, your estrogen levels will go up. You're in touch with a need and you feel I can depend on this person. So that's a big estrogen producer. That's what marriage is. That's why monogamy is so important. I can commit myself to this man because he's committed to me. That commitment is a big estrogen stimulator. I can depend on him. And you know, partner doesn't have to be perfect, by the way, to have lots of estrogen if you're a woman, which allows you to stay in love with him. Bonnie told me after 23 years, I asked for a rating on our marriage, on me. And she said, John, as a father, I can't imagine a better father for our children. As a husband, you're not perfect, but you've given me the greatest gift any woman could want. I said, well, what's that? Saved by the bell, so to speak. And she said, I know that I can say things or do things or feel things that will push your buttons and upset you. And whenever you get upset or angry, you always stop talking. You go to your cave, and I don't know what magic you do, but every time for 23 years, you come out of that cave with more love in your heart, with more love. So I know there's no way I could ever push you out of my life. And that creates safety for her. And that's what men, when men can hear that, they're inspired. Yeah, that's what I want. They just don't know that the power of not being threatening to your partner, okay? It seems like common sense, but men will get angry, we'll argue, we want to be right. And that's the time to take a time out. Because whenever you're angry, irritable, or feeling like a victim or needy, you're on your female side. You need to come back to your male side and then provide the support she needs, which means you come with an open heart and knowledge of how to provide what she needs. Because if you're angry at your spouse, it's going to take time. You have to do a lot of foreplay, emotional foreplay, to help her open up again. But in my marriage, for example, many, many years of my going to my cave and coming back out, my wife wasn't worried while I was in the cave because she understood that men need to pull back to their male side before they can open their heart again. And being alone Independence, independence. I'll do it myself. I have to do it myself. I can't depend on anybody else for my happiness. That builds his testosterone so that then he can find balance and then depend on her appreciation, depend on her happiness, depend on her approval, depend upon her acceptance, depend upon her trusting him. Those are all like the most powerful forms of love that can bring out the best in a man. And they will raise his estrogen and his testosterone at the same time. Because when I'm connected to my wife, whenever she's happy, a part of me becomes happy. And whenever she's unhappy, it can trigger unhappy feelings in me. And that's where I have to practice detachment. And if I have plenty of testosterone, it's easy to detach and say, hey, put that to the side. This is not about me. This is about her. And he needs to learn that if you give a woman the safety to go through her emotions and feelings, she will always come back to feeling safe. Then when she feels safe, she can then become aware that I need him. And then her mind will remember all the good things that he does. So she goes from focusing on what he doesn't do to what he does provide. And that's a natural mechanism that goes on inside of women when they can share and feel safe.
John, oh God, I love hearing you talk. And so much of what you say, like, it's been tested and I know it works. And so it's incredible advice. And today's nuances for dating are just incredibly different than when I was certainly younger. And I wonder if you would speak a little bit about how to create that great hormonal balance on a date. So it's so much of it now is online, and are there any tips or hints that we can learn as women on how to be more effective in our dating?
Yes. And let me put a caveat, a little arrow here, that I just talked about how men can be better listeners. I'd love for you to ask me in a little while how women can train men to be better listeners, because men don't know how to do it, and you can easily train men.
Oh,
Men,
I love that. We'll do.
you want me to go there now, or you want me to do
Yes,
that?
please go ahead. I'm so curious. Yes.
Okay. So yeah, it's literally just you knowing what you need, women. Men have to know what you need as well, and how to communicate that to him without him feeling like you're his boss. Men do not like you to tell them what to do. At the same time, you have to train them because they don't know what to do. And there's more women listening today than men. So how are you going to, you have the power here is a good receiver knows how to train people to give you what you need. That's a part of it. So here's, first of all, how you lose the best in your partner is by not being on your female side, not being a good receiver. And one of the symptoms of that is not needing his help or complaining that he hasn't provided the support that you need. And complaining is really tough for women because there's two extremes of women. One is, I'm so on my male side that I've learned I can do it all myself and he's worthless. Okay. And so your estrogen dries up. Basically, your estrogen, if you don't need something from someone, you don't produce estrogen. So that's one. Okay. The other side of it is the woman who's in touch with her needs and she goes, and he's not delivering. And so now she complains a lot, and her mind loops on what he's not doing, or she verbalizes it and it becomes worse. It turns out that people get stuck in complaining. Complaining is a victim place. And they found, shifting the subject for a moment to make a point, parents who lose children, they did a study on them. And these are particular parents who never were able to move through the grief after a few years and feel happy again. So that's a normal healing process. And I teach people how to go through that process to become happier, as opposed to always feeling pain and hurt and whatever. Now that's called the grieving process. Now, what they found is parents who couldn't make it through the grieving process, they were just depressed the rest of their lives. They did MRI scans and they found that when they mentioned the child, the brain looked like they were taking cocaine or heroin. They were literally addicted to complaining, to the negativity, to the victim. You see, whenever you feel you're a victim, your brain produces high levels of dopamine. Dopamine is produced, it produces pleasure in the brain. It feels good to complain, and it becomes addictive to complain. But the problem is, it feels good, it's addictive, and it gives you a spike of estrogen. for a moment, but then it goes back down further. And what happens is it pushes men's testosterone down. So let's analyze how to give up complaining, because it's addictive and it takes a lot of willpower to do it. It literally, you have to practice when you feel it to go stop, stop, stop. And what I recommend is you actually do the physical movements, because what they find, you have to rebuild the circuits in your brain. Once something produces dopamine, now you get a circuit, which anytime you're stressed, your brain goes into complaining. You go to your addiction. Just like if you have a sugar addiction and you feel a little stressed, or you're sitting there watching TV at night, I have to eat sugar. I have to have chips. I have to have carbohydrates. You see, it's a quick fix to deny us from feeling what we feel. So it makes us feel good. I need those chips. Okay, your estrogen goes up for a moment. So complaining does produce estrogen, but it lowers stress in men. It's not a productive kind, and it amplifies itself over time. So now you have a pessimistic view of life. Okay, so how to change that? If you actually use a physical movement, they've shown that brain changes faster. Literally, if you associate a new thought with a physical movement, that you'll grow neural connectors. So what you want to do is practice 30 days here, ladies. Don't utter a complaint to your partner. Just you feel it, you can think it because it's already there. Go stop, stop, stop. Okay, and back up while you're doing it, almost like you're saying, I'm leaving that, and turn around and try to think for about just a few minutes. Remember something that made you happy. It doesn't have to be about him. It just has to be, remember something in your life that makes you happy. And take a moment to feel that and add color to it. Maybe just add red to color to it, add green color to it, or add all the colors one at a time to that scene that makes you happy. This will literally build new neural connectors in your brain so that you don't have that automatic reaction. There's a supplement that will help you do that easier, and that's called Super Minerals for Women. You can go to that at my website and learn all about it. I'm not going to mention it all now. Takes a long time, but you understand how you change your brain. So that's the first thing, is you have to get, this is a change that will help you be a better receiver. So the next thing you do is, the reality is always when there's a complaint, you'd like your partner to change in some way. Well, recognize behind every complaint is a request. So how to make a request, how to ask for what you want is the most important skill for women today. Now, I will mention that my daughter, Lauren, who's a grown-up now, who's been teaching 10 years. She does blogs at my website. She teaches classes on how to ask for help, how to get it, how to set boundaries, how not to overgive. That she's an expert at that.
Excellent.
That's called, it's a thing called How to Get More Me Time, which means how not to overgive, because women are always overgiving rather than learning how to give to themselves and how to get your partner to give more to you. Complaining doesn't work, but asking for help does. So let me give you an example of how my wife learned to ask for help from me. And I can share this because she did it to me and it worked. So for many years, one of her frustrations with me is I have a tendency to not turn out the light when I walk through a room. Our house is, a big long house. And so I go from the bedroom to the TV room, having to turn and off about 4 different rooms. And so I turn on the light to walk through, and then I turn on the next light to walk. So I'm just turning on lights, kind of the story of my life, but not turning them out. And then she would get frustrated. You don't turn out the lights. Okay, I can make that a bigger story, but I want to keep it short. So she would look at me like, I had to turn out the lights again. When are you going to remember? And of course, after doing that for many years, when she saw me not turning on the lights, taking it personally, she would react as if, you just don't love me. You don't love me enough. See, that's what throws women out of balance, is when they take things personally. At the same time, she said, I got to figure out a way to communicate with him. She read my books. There's a whole chapter in Men Are From Mars on how to ask for help. It's there. The new book even has more. It has this story in it because I really saw it worked. So what she used to do is she'd stare at me. Okay, that's called the death stare. Okay. She said, you forgot again. Women, you have to know the death stare never works. The Greeks even knew this. They called it Medusa. Medusa, if you looked her in the eyes, you turned to stone. I promise you, women, when you do the death stare, he turns to stone. He never changes. So don't look at him. Kind of look around him. And after you finish speaking, go into another room. Don't just sort of look and expect an apology. You want to convey the message. So she basically said, I still remember the moment because it was so different. She said, oh, John, she tried to create kind of a peppy talk, a happy talk. Oh, John, I noticed you left the light on again in the living room. But also I'm noticing many times you do turn out the light, and I really appreciate that. But still, sometimes you forget. And if you can remember, it always makes me happy. And then she immediately looked away. I tell you, she did that two or three times. Every time I go through a room, I go, oh, I can make her happy. Oh, I can make her happy. Oh, I can make her. I changed because of the way she asked for help. And so if you, and the tone of voice, you can, rather than just the tone of voice, eventually, I dissected it, and basically there's some phrases that you could also use to make sure the tone of voice is right, is that you say, oh, I just want to talk for a few minutes. Okay, that already relaxes the man, because when you say, oh, we need to talk, his stress levels are already up.
Absolutely.
So, I just need to talk for a few minutes, and it's not a big deal. If you say the phrase, it's not a big deal, men go, I love you. I just need to talk about this for a few minutes. Something came up. It's not a big deal. Then try to say with no feelings, no emotion, you know, the other day you didn't call, and I know many times you do call. Okay, so then you say what you didn't do, then you say, and I know many times you do it right. You always want to it's loving someone. It's like, and I know you don't do it all the time, but sometimes you still forget to call me when you're late. And I really appreciate it. And I just want to take a few minutes to share how it makes me feel inside, because it just pushes a button inside. And it's not a big deal, but I just want you to understand it was the passing feelings. But I feel like you don't care about me. Your students are more important. And you've already processed your feelings, so you can say it in a short period of time. It just feels like I'm all alone, and I'm scared that you've died. And I know that you're doing your very best. And these are my taking it personally issues. It's my stuff that comes up. And here's the most advanced technique. You say, and it reminds me when I was a little girl, my dad was late and he was actually in a car accident. Something from your past that relates to your taking it personally. You see, taking it personally is making a big deal out of it. You know, it's like all about what, how could you do that? As opposed to, it's not a big deal, but it does trigger things inside. It brings up feelings from when I was a little girl. And so it'd be really nice if you try to remember to call me. I love you so much. And I'm sorry I made a big deal out of this. You apologize for being upset rather than expecting him to apologize. If you do that, I promise you, he'll go, oh, no, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. When you minimize and then apologize for getting upset about it because you're making a big deal out of it, any version of that you can do, he will come back and go, oh, no, I am so sorry. I'm so sorry. Because it's truly when men can feel their regret, that's when they change. But if you're getting upset with him, he defends and never changes. So this is the subtlety.
It's just like, guys, this is, John, that's incredible. And it's interesting. I've always taught complaining begets complaining, because I've always told people, and it's funny, I never knew the science behind it. I just simply knew that when people complain, it seems like then the next complaint comes and the next complaint. And I've always thought complaining brings it actually, what you don't want, it brings it closer to you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's something I see very commonly with women too, where they spend too much time telling them what they don't like and not enough time telling them what they do like. But it's just fascinating that you talk about that. And guys, I got to tell you, like, there's so much. This is what you've got to do. You've got to go to Dr. John Gray's website, www.marsvenus.com. I want to ask you a little bit, because another thing that I talked about earlier, and I just want to make sure that we talk about it a little bit, is John has done incredible research on nutrition and supplements. And he sells a lot of these beautiful supplements that for honestly, no profit. He just is trying to get them out there so that we can have optimum health. So I want you to talk a little bit, if you will. I know there was some research recently about women and weight. And it's new research, and what you found out was just fascinating. I think we would all benefit by knowing in this audience. So you can talk a little bit about that for us?
Yes, I can. I'll just briefly talk about it, and it explains it more at my website. But what happens is when women are experiencing stress responses, what occurs is estrogen levels go down, and then the body now tries to compensate to make estrogen, it puts fat on your body because fat makes estrogen. So if you're in a stress mode, your body wants to put on fat. Now, the flip side of that is also, we know when you're in stress mode, you basically, your blood sugar, you will crave sugar to raise your blood sugar. And then that, if the blood sugar goes too high, that will then cause your body to store that excess sugar as fat and as triglycerides, which are hard to get rid of. So what we want to do is calm down the adrenal glands so the body can now start burning fat. And that's like the most important thing, is to calm it down, make more estrogen. And it turns out that unless you have healthy gut function, your adrenal doesn't reset. So you want to reset your adrenal gland to everything is okay now. And every time you're even worried about losing weight, you're going to put on weight. I mean,
not right, John. It's just not right.
So what the Swiss scientists found out with their research is that when we were affected by chlorine, it kills good bacteria in the gut. When we have food with pesticides, it kills good bacteria in the gut. When food has GMOs, it kills good bacteria in the gut. And when we're stressed, it can even, to high blood sugar, it can kill good bacteria in the gut. So the gut, as we get older, has more and more challenges. Digestion is everything. Gut health is there. Whether some people have obvious symptoms. If you're not having regular bowel movements every day, that's a gut problem. If you're having bloating, that's a gut problem. If you're having pain, that's a gut problem. If you're overeating to the point of fullness, so your stomach is completely packed, it's a gut problem. So these are some of the common symptoms. Even without those symptoms, just having weight gain is a symptom of adrenal fatigue, adrenal imbalance, and we need better digestion for that to be corrected. That's what they found with this particular probiotic. It's the new science, the new health. When we finally get out of pharmaceuticals, it will all be about good bacteria. I mean, they're finding one bacteria that you can put in your gut will actually help you to digest milk again. Otherwise, a lot of people can't handle milk products. There's another one that helps build dopamine in the brain, for serotonin in the brain, to lower stress levels in the body, to strengthen the immune system, to utilize vitamin D effectively. You can have vitamin D and it doesn't work unless you also have the probiotics that generate the molecules that will allow vitamin D to work. So everything today is about gut health. We're finding out brain function, well-being, brain chemical, hormonal balance. And there's lots of good probiotics out there, but to make your own probiotics is maybe 100 times better. And to make your own probiotic, which is make your own homemade yogurt from starters, which have 43 different strains. Now you'll see most good probiotics only have 3. They're more expensive. It's a 7. There's one that's 16 that's very, very expensive. But here's one that's got 42 different strains of probiotics in it. It's really had tremendous benefits for people for weight loss, also for children who have mental problems, challenges, and so forth. Also, right away, improvements. And you only need to take a little bit of it, like 2 tablespoons a day, swish it around in your mouth. But that now restores health over a 3-month period. So it's not like you just disappear your weight, but it allows you to get back into the place as a woman where you're making plenty of estrogen and you're not depending upon excess fat to make that estrogen. And that's a transition. Also, the meats that you eat, it's very important that you don't eat meat that has hormones put in it. So if they don't say hormone-free meat, it's got hormones in it. And if you take those hormones, your body's not going to make the hormones. And so that's the key to it, is get your body back into that balance. I'll say one other thing about eating food that has hormones added to it for women. This is one of the big problems for women being so far on their male side, is that when you take hormones, your brain says, I don't need to make estrogen. So then your body says, all right, I got plenty of estrogen, so now I'm going to go make testosterone. And that then throws you into stress mode. And that stress mode is what causes the adrenal gland to produce all these stress hormones. And we know as a fact, and this is factual, when you're in a stress response, your body cannot burn fat as a source of energy. So, there's a lot of different things going on here. I covered a lot in a short period of time, but come back to hormonal balance. Lowering your stress levels will improve your digestion. And what magnifies the benefit of that yogurt is if you make it at home. I have a video on how to make it. It's real simple to make, and it takes a day, and then it's good for 2 weeks, because you're only going to take 2 tablespoons. I also formulated a powdered shake, which has a human balance of casein and whey protein. See, milk is cows. It doesn't have the right balance of proteins like mother's milk. So what I did is simulated mother's milk from cow milk by having almost an equal amount of casein and whey protein. No other product does that. Enzymes and minerals in it, plus a bunch of other good vitamins. But if you have that right balance and enzymes, then you put water on it, room temperature water. It will bubble for after 30 minutes, it will digest itself. So now what you're getting is pre-digested proteins, because anytime we're in a stress mode, we can't get the benefit of our proteins and make plenty of brain chemicals. So then what the Swiss scientists said, they did a test on my shake. If you let it sit for 30 to 45 minutes, it actually is absorbed by the body 92%. Any other protein is only absorbed 25% on average. So you're getting all this extra benefit of the proteins, but it will also increase the benefit of the probiotic yogurt, by 100-fold is what they said. It was like amazing for gut health to put them two together. So you let it sit for 30 minutes with the yogurt in it, 2 tablespoons, and the shake. Then blend it up and don't put ice in it. Let it be room temperature. It will go right to your brain, go right to your gut, and you will be so much healthier. But it's about 3 months is what they found in order to get the benefit from the probiotic. You have to redo the whole gut, and it will replant these probiotics. They'll start growing again, and you'll notice that all those symptoms go away, and you just enjoy eating the right amount of food rather than craving too much.
And I actually have the probiotic, and I've been through the treatments more than once, and I can let you all know that it works and you have far more energy. I guarantee you the brain health is there as well. So guys, here's the thing with John Gray. There's no amount of knowledge that he doesn't hold that will help us in our relationships, in every area of our lives. And I know how important that is for all of us, because we need to have these beautiful, fulfilling relationships in order to actually be nourished. So John has offered to give all of you a free course to get everything you want in relationships for women, men, couples, and singles. And so I'm going to put the link down below for you to get that free gift.
And that's 4 different courses. If you're single man, single woman, couple man. So it's depending on where you are. But let me quickly, you asked about dating. I know many people are thinking, what are you going to say? So just, there's a lot I say in Mars, Venus on a date, but here's a few basics, okay? One basic, women, is don't give him what you want him to give you. And practically speaking, that means you should talk a lot more and he should listen a lot more. But women make the mistake because they want a man to show interest in you. You show more interest in him by asking questions and being interested and interviewing him. Don't do any of that. If nothing's happening, and you can do a little of that, but always when he starts talking, then you want to bring it back to you, and you bring it back to you by saying something like, almost interrupting him and saying, that makes so much sense. He will stop at that moment and go, what did I say? Or you could say, you're right. Or you could say, what a good idea. I hadn't thought of that. Oh, that's amazing. And you did da, 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 da. And then come back to you. So you have to make a transition, come back to you, and practice. This is the key. Practice being 1,000 times authentic in what you think about life and how you feel about life in a way that's not trying to change his point of view. That means you can completely disagree with him, but if you disagree without trying to change his point of view, but to recognize the value of his point of view, and you have a different point of view, that actually creates more attraction. So don't ask him questions. Don't be a people pleaser. Don't give to him more than he's giving to you. And ideally, make sure he's giving a lot more to you than you're giving to him in terms of what you do for him. But what you give more of to him is more delight and more appreciation and more happiness because he's doing things for you. That's the greatest gift you can give a man, is to let him feel successful in doing something for you, not you doing things for him. Giving is our male side, receiving is our female side. Help him to be a man in your presence, and he will bond with you, just as you will bond with him by allowing him to be there for you. then you will begin to grow in appreciation and happiness in his presence. So that's a basic one. And then one other quick basic one. So much pressure on people to have sex right away. Don't have sex right away. Please go slow, but don't bust his ego when you don't want to do it, women. What you do is you say something like, as you're kissing or making out and that's starting to happen, that feels so good. Then you say, oh, then you gently pull away and you go, oh, I need to go slow. He said, why? Why not? Don't you feel it? And you go, oh, yes, I feel it. And there's a big part of me that wants to have sex with you, but I need to go slow. That satisfies his ego because he's going to hear that little moment where you say, yes, a part of you does want to have sex. That's all he needs to hear is he scored. He doesn't actually have to have sex. He needs to know that you want to have sex with him. That's the most important thing to men. But if you go right away, he hasn't bonded in his mind and in his heart. So he'll have sex and then there's no bond. And usually he likes you less after having quick sex with you. So get to know each other to where you're feeling you want sex more than he does. That's the best time to want sex.
John, I have to tell you, this is like, you have given us a $1 million interview. Today, I'm serious. I know that it's going to be so helpful for all of us women out here. And I mean, that was like loaded, packed with great information. And I thank you so much for gifting us with your incredible knowledge. You are an amazing leader in this area of relationships. And I ask everyone, please go buy the book. Go buy the new book. If you want to find out what to do, if you want to be successful, both in dating and relationships, go buy the book. Again, the website is right down below this interview. So John, thank you.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's just a delight to spend this time with you. Not all interviewers have even read my book, and you've lived it, and you are an inspiration to me in our conversation. Thank you.
Oh, John, thank you so much. I wish you all of the best, and I'll see you on your website.
Okay.
Thanks, John. Bye.
Bye-bye.